peeps and creeps, and welcome to Fright Club. I'm Gav, he's Danny, and we are the Fright Club NI, and this is another episode of Monday Night Frights. And as you can see below, we're being joined by a new face on this episode. It's local film director and co-host of the Spit Roast podcast, Mr. Adam Neeson. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
No bother, man. How's things with you?
All good. We're in the middle of production on another short for Christmas. So behind the camera in this living room, everything's a bit of a mess. There's a bit of, I can see a fake eyeball on the ground. I can see half a jaw ripped off somewhere.
Amazing.
Can you tell us something about it, or?
It is a home invasion movie with a twist of Krampus.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
Yep. Do you like
I actually just watched Krampus the other night because obviously it was Krampus snack, and what a film that is! Fucking amazing film.
Great, absolutely great.
Brilliant, correct. So today, this episode's all going to be about Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, as it's known in some places around the world. The sequel, in inverted commas, to the first Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell movie from 1981. It's not really a sequel, is it? Really, it's more of a.
It's almost like a
remake. Yeah,
it's a bit of a reboot, but it gets a bit wilder.
Yeah,
it's basically the same story, same plot, and then they've just kind of changed a few things around. Maybe did a few things that they possibly couldn't do in the first one. Obviously, the budget was bigger, so they had more to work with, but slightly more mature version of it, but also funnier version of the first film.
They definitely lean into their sort of comedy origins with this one, and I think it lends into what's to come from both of them in terms of what they produce after.
Yeah. So it was released in 1987, which was, I think, 6 years after the first one. It had a budget of about $3.5 million. Apparently, they wanted to do a sequel straight away, and it didn't happen. And then they ended up going and making another movie, which bombed. And they were told that they needed to basically make a sequel to The Evil Dead, which was obviously their first success. So Sam Raimi wrote a script, and with the guy called Scott Spiegel, I think his name was, and Robert Tabbert produced it as well, same as the first one. But originally the script was going to be called Evil Dead and the Army of Darkness, which is what we eventually get in the third film, and it was supposed to be a time travel type Middle Ages movie, which, you know, we get there eventually at the end of this movie and in the third film, but that's what Sam wanted from the sequel, and then he was told that no, we just want you to basically reboot the very first film, and, you know, we'll give you all this money. So, but one of the first things you sort of see from this film is it does become more comedic in places, but it also is a lot more mature in terms of the makeup and stuff's, I think, way better in this. And obviously, there's a lot more sort of stop motion, which we'll get
effects entirely
get into.
Amp up and stuff. And you see definitely a focus more on. Yes, Bruce Campbell is kind of the focus in the first film, but he's definitely the main guy in this one, where before there's kind of a bit of a balance between them all. This one focuses very heavily on him, and he really gets to kind of come into his own for this one.
Mm-hmm. When did you first see this film, Adam? Were you young, or what age were you?
I was young. I seen the original Evil Dead on, do you remember the PSP?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember you could buy films? It was like UMD.
Yes, UMDs.
I remember going to HMV and getting the first Evil Dead on UMD and looking at the cover and being like, "Oh, this is meant to be the most terrifying movie ever."
Mm-hmm.
So I would like quietly watch it in bed and be like, I can't watch it." But then I learned that there was an Evil Dead 2 a couple of years later, when I was going through a bit of a I like movies phase rather than, you know, just, oh, I like cartoons, sort of into that, oh, I'm a fine art man.
Yeah. Cinephile.
Exactly. And I seen Evil Dead 2. I think I actually first found out about it from Spaced, the TV show Spaced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have the poster, and then I remember seeing the cover in HMV and went, oh, that's what they talk about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first watched it, I was just mind blown. It's such a rush of cinematic energy that I'd never seen before, and even now watching it like for the 50th time maybe since I first seen it, it keeps up that energy and it never gets boring, and it's you can constantly revisit it and still get that thrill that you got when you first watched it.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you. Danny, this is one of your favorite horror films, isn't it?
It's one of my
Evil Dead 2.
favorites. I absolutely love it. As I said, I seen the first one first when I reckon I was maybe 13 or so. Like I said in the when we did the first movie, so I very quickly went and watched this one then after, and this one it just blew me away because again, I could tell immediately that it was a bit of a reboot, but just as you say, Adam, the whole kind of atmosphere of it and the pacing of it and the effects and the humor and all, it completely changes. Yes, you're familiar with it, but it renews it. It gives it a nice new vigor. And then that ending as well. Of course, then after I watched the second one, I had to go watch the third one because of the ending. So yeah, it's one of my favorites, and I love everything that's kind of spun off from it. The movies, the TV shows, the comics, everything. Bruce Campbell, Ash is one of my favorite sort of horror characters ever.
Yeah, you love the chin, Danny, don't you?
I love that chin. I love it so. I have to keep mine covered with a beard because I can't come to that level of chinliness.
We're all beardy boys tonight, so
we are.
Fuck. We've actually talked quite a lot about Bruce Campbell on Monday Night Frights. We did I know he's not in Darkman a lot. He's only in that.
He gets that lovely moment.
Amazing scene, and then we talked about him obviously in our first Evil Dead episode, which you can check down on our YouTube channel if you haven't seen it already. Please go back, subscribe. Hit that bell, all that stuff. Sam Raimi, obviously amazing director. The energy from Sam Raimi's films is incredible, as you said, Adam. I really agree with what you said there about his camera work, his energy, especially in this one because this just starts off straight away. It doesn't fuck about. In the first one, you get a wee bit of kind of, you have that sort of maybe first 10-15 minutes where they arrive and they do all the pleasantries, but this just kicks off like straight away. They arrive, Ash and Linda arrive at the place, and he immediately notices the tape recorder and he plays it. And I actually wrote it down, within 9 minutes, all hell breaks loose, and she's already possessed, and he has to chop off her head within 9 fucking minutes of the movie starting. That's mad, like.
I imagine it's probably because they did expect that the people who were going to watch it had probably seen the first one. So they were like, right, anyone who's going to watch this already kind of knows the setup, so let's just go.
Yeah, we don't need to have all this bullshit at the start. We can just go straight in because this is what people want. They want the demon possession and they want to see all the mad effects and all that mad shit. Couple of fun facts though before we get into the movie. Sam Raimi and Scott Spiegel lived together while they were writing this. But they also lived with the Coen brothers and a few other famous actresses. Anyone hazard a guess who lived in the house with them? Well, one you could maybe guess. Holly Hunter is one, and Frances McDormand, obviously.
Oh yeah,
because she was married. But Kathy Bates as well apparently lived with them. So, bit of a mad fun fact there. And also, there's a scene later on in the basement. Now, I didn't catch it. I haven't been able to catch it when I've watched it. I'm sure you guys have. It's a very famous scene where you see Freddy Krueger's glove hanging up in the basement somewhere.
It's in the shed.
In the shed?
Yes.
Right, cool. Because I was watching last night and I was like, fuck, I must try and stop this to see it. And I forgot to stop it to see it. But yeah, so that was taken from the set of Dream Warriors because the special effects guy, Mark Shostrom, he was working on Dream Warriors at the time. Or he had just finished Dream Warriors. I'm not 100% sure of the timeline there, but that's the actual glove that was on set. So I thought that was a cool wee nod to Freddy Krueger, who is, the coolest horror character of all time.
Also, Dream Warriors, the best Freddy Krueger movie.
Well, I actually listened to your podcast about the Elm Street. That was fucking amazing. All the seven or eight movies that you did, and the Dream Warriors one was a good one too. Class. I think it's the second best. I'm a big fan of the original. I just love the first one, but it would go 1, 3 to me, and then I don't know. I'll have to think about. We're going to a ranking sort of thing. We're hopefully going to do all the movies at some point, but yeah, Dream Warriors is amazing. Definitely the special effects in Dream Warriors is amazing, and it was done by the guy who did the special effects in this as well, Mark Shostrom.
Yeah.
And also, I think Greg Nicotero was working on this as well.
Yeah.
Not right, yeah.
Yeah, the whole KNG, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
They were all, because there's a great, on the Blu-ray, there's a great documentary about all those guys. And there's a lot of behind the scenes footage. And it just seemed like summer camp for them. Like they met out for a whole summer. It was great.
It'd be class, man. I'd love to be on the set with those guys and like special effects guys. So, but anyway, I'll get cracking on talking about the movie. Do you prefer this one to the first one? Overall, do you guys prefer this one or the first one?
I would prefer this one.
Yeah.
It's just, it has the speed to it and the more, it's better special effects and better story, and it's funnier.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first one, technically, when you watch it, is a marvel because you're like, how did they even get this done? Whereas this is like, how did people let them get away with this?
Well, Danny, do you think the one thing we talked about when the first movie was how much Sam Raimi fucked around with Bruce Campbell?
Yeah.
Do you think he did? Do you think he did more in this one or the first one?
No, I think he definitely does more in this one. I think especially the scene, with the laughing. Everything is laughing at him, and I'm like, that's some psychological fuckery right there, But I think for me, I really, really enjoy this one. As you say, the pacing's great, the comedy's great, and the ending I feel is far better to this one. But the first one still kind of holds a special place in my heart because it was the one that I kind of seen first and was just like watching it going, what? Being 13 years old and just being like, what's going on?
No.
So I think the first one does hold a very special place in my heart, but this one does have definitely the better sort of, it moves a lot better and it has a better conclusion to it.
I feel like this is definitely, whenever people talk about Evil Dead, the franchise, this is the one that everyone would go to first and just say, because this is the one that kind of has the most iconic scenes, I suppose you could say, in it. Obviously the groovy scene, the chainsaw where, the hand, the whole severed hand part is hugely iconic. The chainsaw where he chops the shotgun, and the stag, the possessed stag, and I just feel like this is more iconic in general compared to the first one. And normally when people say Evil Dead, they think about this one first. So I think I'd probably say I prefer this one just in general because it's a lot more fast paced and it's got those iconic lines in it. I love how it starts off as well because we talked about how that it just starts off and there's no fucking about, and you get that wee sort of recap at the start talking about the Book of the Dead, and you get the weird sort of graphics of the book and opening up and all the cool imagery and stuff, and then it just goes straight into Ash and Linda driving straight to the cabin. And I just love that thing where the car is driving over the bridge. I don't know if you remember that start. It just drives, and it's just so simple. I just love it. I love that imagery, and obviously when they get there, Bruce is playing the piano and all. He's all like being all romantic, and she's like taking her top off and stuff. And then they get into it, and straight away the tape player's there. And what's the guy's name? Who's the explorer? Do you remember? It's Robert something, isn't it?
No.
Oh, fuck, I can't remember his name. I should have written it down, but I couldn't remember his name. But the main difference between this and the first one is that it's just Ash and Linda. There's no other friends there. But isn't it the guy's daughter? And her team, sort of halfway through the movie, come to the cabin to try and find the father, who obviously isn't there. He's dead. And then that's when everything else starts kicking off, and you get all those amazing stop motion scenes of the possessed characters. But I definitely prefer the makeup in this one to the first one. We talked about, remember the first one had like the weird red eyes and stuff that apparently was really bad. And this one, Linda gets possessed straight away, and Ash has to fucking chop her head off. It's class because she goes outside and isn't outside. They're outside.
Yeah.
And then she sort of does the whole thing where she turns around, her eyes are white, and then she jumps on him. She does that weird leap into the air, and then he just grabs a fucking shovel and off goes her head.
It's all very reminiscent of the first one.
Yeah.
I think I'll bet it definitely everything that happened in the first one happens in this one, but it's like times 10.
Yeah, and what you don't get in this one is you don't get the setup before it, whereas in the first one you kind of got a kind of nice sort of sweet setup between the couple first, and then in this one it just goes straight in, and he just does it as well. It's like, fuck it, he doesn't even care that he's just chopped his girlfriend's head off, and then he just starts burying her straight away, and he's like, aye, here we go, may as well fucking bury her.
It is
like,
what it is. He's a cool guy now. He doesn't have to care anymore.
I know. It's just very weird. I always thought it was very strange how this was supposed to be a sequel, but there's never any mention of the first movie. There's no connection to the first movie, but it's still billed as a sequel. It's just very weird. But yeah, so he's coping really well with it. He just sort of buries her, and then that's it. And then he gets attacked. Doesn't he? He gets attacked, and there's that scene where it's very iconic. Him, the demon Ash, where he sort of turns around. He's got the white eyes, and he gets attacked, and then he falls into. No, before he falls into the puddle, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He smashes against a tree and falls into the puddle, and he's just fucking lying there in mud. Like, Sam Raimi, what a bastard.
he loves it. He loves absolutely messing with Bruce. And I think that's what I love about it so much, as we kind of explained in the last episode. The reboot just it tried to step away from that whole fuckery, and it just didn't work.
No.
It didn't have the same fun energy that the Bruce Campbell ones do, and even the TV series has. The TV series, I think, is very, it gets sort of a bit of slack for being just sort of like a money grab, or maybe not quite as good as the movies, or just kind of string out what they had. But I enjoyed it. I think they're pretty good. But yeah, I love that whole just how much what can we get Bruce to do sort of thing, and he's gonna push him over and throw him downstairs and cover him in blood, and
I know.
Love it.
There's definitely a lot more blood in this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like they fucking just I don't know what they use for the blood, but man, they use as much blood as they could in this one compared to the first one. Obviously because the budget was a lot bigger. But one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is actually the possession scene when Ash turns, and then he turns back, and he does that sort of weird cockeyed thing. Like, it's very Jim Carrey-esque, isn't it? Or Jim Carrey has copied him basically, but he does that weird fucking cockeyed thing, and then he's back to being Ash. But fucking, I love just when he's possessed, and then later on in the film when his hand becomes possessed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but when I was young, I used to always pretend that my fucking hand was possessed. Doing that whole fucking thing where it's attacking your face. I did that all the time, and he does it so well, and it's very. I think it's overlooked acting. A lot of people would look at that and go, "Oh, it's just some guy rolling around the floor, pretending his hand's possessed." But to me, that's like Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Proper slapstick, amazing acting, and he does it so well, and it's fucking amazing. What would be your favorite scenes in the movie? Adam, you go first.
I would say I do like the start of him playing the piano, because it kind of sets up that later on when he loses his hand, he's obviously very talented with his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So losing his hand, he's like, oh, I can't play piano anymore.
I know. Of all the things.
My favorite scenes would be the lady in the basement, played by Raimi.
Yes, that's right.
The door shuts and her eye flies into the.
Oh man, amazing.
Oligo's mouth, I think her name is.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to. I do enjoy the whole ramp up, because the people that were excavating and looking for the lost pages from the Book of the Dead, there's the whole part where they're off doing that, but then you cut back to Bruce, and it's just the whole. Everybody's laughing at him. He's smashing the plates. It's like if you walk past that cabin, you'd be like, "What is going on?
What the fuck's going on here? Some bad party."
Yeah.
Yep.
I know. Those are brilliant scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do love that with Sam Raimi torturing Bruce the whole time. From the first movie to this movie, it's as if Bruce got more handsome. So
Aye.
he's better looking in the second one, and it's kind of as if Sam Raimi's went, "Fuck you, you handsome bastard! I'll hit you even more."
His chin's got bigger and more sculpted.
Refined.
Refined,
Yeah.
yeah. Definitely. Danny, what's your favourites?
I think I'm gonna have to go with the hand scene. As you say, it's got that real slapstick thing about it. It's like proper like mime. It's almost, there's very little dialogue. It's just the sound of him struggling to fight his own hand, and it's some, as you say, fantastic performance. Always kind of reminds me of in Is It Liar Liar? Again, drawn back to Jim Carrey, but the claw.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's actually that's a really good comparison. That's what I was thinking about whenever it was happening.
Yeah, that claw. So I love that there, and I love the scene where he's losing his mind in the cabin. Everything's laughing at him, and he's cracking up. I love when he is making his chainsaw, when he's putting his chainsaw together, and you've got all those nice close-ups of him, like hammering the stuff and cutting the stuff up, and the leather straps and all. Again, saw it in the first one, we see it again here, just multiplied by 10 with all the nice sounds and stuff and the close-up shots and that. And I love the ending. I love when we get this complete change of scenery and we're in the desert. I think that's fantastic to go from that kind of like small isolated cabin to this wide open desert. Which again, you're kind of like, what's going on? The car's there, but then all of a sudden these knights and all appear, and you're like, what is this? And as I said, when I seen that, I was like, I need to go watch the third one now. I need to know where he is, what's going on. So yeah, I think those would be probably my favorite scenes. The hand losing his mind, getting his boomstick and his chainsaw, and the end.
What I liked about this as well, whenever they were playing the tape, they showed flashbacks of the man, her father, the explorer, and the wife at the cabin, and he's sort of playing. So obviously they set that up because you see her later on. Well, you see Ted Raimi wearing a very bloated suit, but then you also see the mother later on when she's trying to talk to the daughter through the cellar, and I just thought it was a nice little thing to do that was different from the first movie. And also they show the castle as well, where he found the pages of the Book of the Dead, which fucking shows up at the end. So obviously it's a full circle type thing, and I'd actually forgotten about that. When I watched it at the end, I was like, oh fuck, that's the castle, that's where he's gone back to, that's fucking the Book of the Dead. So great way to sort of tie those two together and start off the third film. But another great scene as well, I thought, was talking all about the sort of comedy scenes in it, but just some of the subtle possession stuff that happens at the very start when he starts hearing the voices, and that part where he looks in the mirror and you see the camera from sort of behind, and then you see the mirror reflection looking at him, and then he steps out of the mirror. Like, that's really innovative, like before its time. I know, it's stealing from other films that have done it even before that, but such a great little clever trick. And Adam, like, you're a film director, so you'll know more about this, but those little tricks really fucking work when you're working on a small budget.
Well, it's whenever I was in college studying film, we had to make a music video, and I just solely just ripped off that mirror scene.
Really?
Yeah,
Class.
I recreated it. Not to the effort of like as good as Demon's, but I was like full on like, oh yeah, I'm taking that. It'll be my little
Amazing.
tip of the hat to
We
Sam
know
Raimi.
it to Sam Raimi.
I was going to say, would you say Raimi would be sort of one of your main influences for your take on film, or because I would say Edgar Wright's one of mine, but again, Edgar Wright is that influenced by Raimi, so it's sort of,
I would say unintentionally, because I have like my influences and stuff, but even when we made Black and White, the short we put out last month, even when editing it, there were some shots I was like, oh, that's just Evil Dead. Like, in my head, I didn't consciously do it, but whenever I got to edit it, I was like, oh no, not oh no, but like, oh, in my head I've went, oh, I've seen this before, and it's close ups on eyes, it's turning the editing up fast, kind of overreacting to things as well. But It's not a bad influence to have.
No.
I think that's the best way to pay homage to your favorite filmmakers and directors. Whenever you do something and you do it unintentionally, and then you look back and you go, "Holy shit, that's Sam Raimi." Obviously you got that from your love of Evil Dead, and like me and Danny we would consider ourselves amateur filmmakers as well. Although we have to get out sometime and actually do some work. I know, but we've made a couple of little things, or we've filmed some stuff. We haven't sort of finished them, but like I even see sometimes whenever I'm editing stuff or I'm filming stuff that I get a lot of. I love the shots from like Quentin Tarantino films, but I don't necessarily think, I want it to look like Quentin Tarantino films or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's the best way to pay homage to your favorite filmmakers whenever you do it unintentionally.
And chances are, half the time, no one else will notice it unless they're like-minded. Someone else who's a fan of that particular director or cinematographer or whatever. So it's always appreciated, I think, if other people pick up on that as well. You can kind of be like, tip of the cap to a fellow Raimi fan,
No. Yep. No, that's the best way to do it. So Linda's dead. She's buried. But then Linda comes back to life. This is fucking brilliant, this scene. I'd completely forgotten. I knew there was a zombie with, wee titties hanging out, but I'd forgotten just how much they focused on it and how long the scene went on, because she comes back to life. She's no head, but she's pretty much naked. Isn't she? Completely naked. And she's bouncing about, going mad, and what the fuck? Like, that's got to be one of the best scenes in cinema.
Yeah.
So funny. Is she not like dancing around? Is it not sort of like in the first one when she's doing like the wee ballerina sort of dance and stuff?
That's right, because at the start of the movie when he's playing the piano, she's kind of swaying back and forth. She's taking her top off, but she's kind of dancing, so it teases that she's got some sort of dance background. And obviously we don't get into it then, but she does start doing like a ballet routine. But she's completely naked. She's got no head, and she's
It's just absurd, really.
It's just like a naked corpse.
It's what leads into, it's kind of the initial sort of kind of like, right, what's this about? And then it descends into more chaos from there. But I love it. Isn't this the one where he's got the little mini ashes, or that's 3, isn't it?
That's 3. That's the third one, yeah.
The little tiny ashes. I love the little ashes.
We'll definitely be doing Army of Darkness
100%.
Probably next season. But yeah, that's mad. I haven't watched that movie in a long time, and I'm looking forward to re-watching it again. So what happens then? So she bites him in the hand, didn't she? And then that's whenever his hand goes all fucked up, and he has to chop his hand off, which is, as we spoke about, was one of the best segments in the whole film. And then we get the bit where all the furniture starts laughing, which again, there's a bit where the clock's actually stop motion as well. It stops. The wee lamp starts giggling. And what else? The doors start flapping open.
The doors are flapping with the laughter. I think the windows are going. There's a chair that's like rocking back and forth, but the creaking turns into laughter. And obviously the stag head then is the sort of the main thing, and it's just it's losing its mind. See the way it's like flopping around, laughing its head off. That kills me, cracks me up.
And that's when you get the scene where Bruce Campbell turns to the camera with that mad eyes wide open, mad gaze, and that's a very famous shot from that movie. That would be on loads of posters, and loads of artists use that as imagery. It was actually one of the first, Danny, whenever we first started Fright Club with NI, I sent you loads of wee artwork things I'd working on. That was one of the first ones I did, actually, was Bruce Campbell's face, and it was like a red and white face. I must get that out and see if I have it still somewhere. But yeah,
use it for our thumbnail.
I might do. I might actually use it for the thumbnail. If I still got it, I probably won't have it. I tend to bin a lot of shit and then completely regret it later. So then we get all the other people arrive. Who is it? It's his daughter, Annie, I want to say her name is, and there's two women, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's 2 women and 2 guys.
There's Greg, who's like the guy that comes with Annie. Then there's the other ladies, Billy Joe or Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe, yes, Bobby Joe. And then the hillbilly guy.
Yeah, who died recently.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Fuck. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But he's a real dick in this.
Mhm.
You always get like in these horror movies, not just horror movies, but when there's a group of people in a house together, there's always one guy who's just a complete dick, who you hate, who turns against everyone and doesn't want to follow the leader, and is just a dick. And he's normally a hillbilly. They arrive and they immediately think that Ash has killed the parents. That's whenever you see for the first time Henrietta, who is being played by Sam Raimi's brother Ted, who again, much like Bruce Campbell,
Always gets a wee shout out.
He gets a shout out, and he also gets pulled through the fucking trenches. He's wearing. It doesn't look very comfortable. The thing that he's wearing, but it's not just a mask; it's a full bodysuit. And I was reading a little bit about this before we came on the call, and apparently, obviously, it was very, very uncomfortable, and he would sweat bucket loads in it. And there's a lot of the scenes you actually see him, the sweat running out of his ears.
Yeah.
And the scenes, like, fair play to Ted Raimi. He doesn't get enough love.
No.
But he's amazing. He's amazing in this. Like,
He
go
turns
ahead.
up in so many things as well.
He does.
Like,
He's like just one of those actors that just you'll just see him in random, like he's in hundreds of movies, and he's never like the main guy. He's always just a background character, or just somebody's mate or somebody's friend or a neighbor or something. And
isn't he in Candyman?
he's in Candyman. Yet he dies. He's in the opening. I think he's in the opening scene, isn't he?
Mhm.
And obviously he's in Darkman as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's the guy that pops up through the.
He's the one Darkman shoves up through the manhole as
That's
the water's
right.
coming. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's in a lot of other Sam Raimi movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he's brilliant in this because you can see that it's him as well. You can sort of recognize the eyes, and but he's brilliant in this. And basically, he's the bloated corpse, the demon corpse of Henrietta, the mother of the girl that has come. And he just does a brilliant job. And you get a lot of those sort of cellar scenes where Ash is down there and he's trying to get away from her, and then she comes up, and then that's when the eye pops out.
Yeah.
Whenever they smack her in the head and the eye goes into the girl's mouth, which again, brilliant scene. What's the other guy called? The blonde guy? Greg. Whenever he turns, now we're talking about this being sort of funny and the makeup and stuff. When he turned into the Deadite, fuck me, man, that was scary makeup, like proper scary makeup. I could imagine a lot of people watching it back, in 1987 or whatever, being like, "What the fuck?" Not seeing makeup like that before.
He goes proper full on ghouly, doesn't he? His jaw gets really
His
low
whole face is gone.
His forehead gets like massive,
Yeah.
and his big eyes and all, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's his mouth, I think, for me, because it looks so different to a normal person's mouth, where it kind of opens up, and he's got like different layers of teeth and stuff. He's really fucking terrifying. And then what we love about these movies is not just the makeup, but the sound design is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it in the first one.
Super tasty sound.
All the sound effects that they make when they're talking, and all the sort of the double voicing and all that stuff, and it's fucking scary stuff. It is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. The guy's name is Ed.
Ed, right?
He is the main presenter now of QVC.
Wow!
No way.
Yeah.
That's
that is amazing.
Buy your jewelry from a Deadite.
Hey, that's crazy.
There you go. You know what? That's my favorite fact.
That's the best. That is the best fact for sure. QVC, amazing. QVC, how the hell do you go from Evil Dead to QVC? Crazy.
Pays the bills.
Pays the bills, aye. That's it, man. That's In the first movie, you see one of the girls get violated. Yeah, you actually see her get violated sexually by branches, and it's quite controversial. In this one, it's not as bad, sexually anyway. But she gets you get that she goes out, and you get that big part where it's like a demon tree beard, isn't it? It's like fucking. You see the eyes in the tree.
Evil int.
Evil Int, I know. And then all the branches pull her away, and she gets pulled through the forest in a similar fashion. She's come back to the cabin with the missing pages of the Book of the Dead, and then that's when you sort of find a little bit of backstory about her father and the prophecy. The was it the hero from the sky?
Mhm.
He's called, and you see the silhouette of that famous shot of him holding his fucking boomstick up, and you don't really know it yet, but obviously we know it because we've watched it. But you find out later at the end of the movie that it's actually Ash is the prophecy. The demons are going mad, and he's like, right, fuck this, and they go into the shed, and then we get that scene where he gets the chainsaw and he straps it around him, and very, very iconic scene. And then we get the iconic line. Is that the first?
That's our first groovy.
Is that the first time he says it? Yeah.
I don't think there's no groovy in the first one.
No, there's not. No, I thought that.
This was the first groovy.
And then who would have thought that from that one scene, you know, he would be called Groovy Bruce the rest of his fucking life. And then he goes out and starts slaying, and I just love all the stop motion stuff and all the blood. It's like way too much blood almost.
But the gore in this, I still feel it's not too much. It's still kind of comical, and it works well with everything that's going on, and I don't feel it's over the top, as I said, with the likes of the remake and stuff, where there was, I think because this blood doesn't look too real, it's too light. It's still got a sort of reddy pinkishness to it that you aren't falling for it. Whereas in the reboot, we kind of get that thick, kind of almost brown syrup like blood, and again, I think that is when it became too much for me, because I think there's one point where one of the rooms is just filled with it. And I was just like, nah, this is too much, and also too real looking. There's still something of a cartoon nature to Raimi's Evil Dead that the reboot just doesn't capture.
It's still very much slapstick, and you know it's slapstick.
Yeah.
Even when it gets kind of gory and sick in certain places, you still know that it's slapstick. You're right. I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of refuse to watch the 2013 movie.
But if you hit 10,000 likes, we'll review it.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Imagine, see if we get 10,000 likes, we'll have to.
Nah.
You've said it now.
Please no. Yeah. So no, definitely not. And then so we get that bit at the end where, you know, they kill everyone, and they chop Henriette up. They blow Ted Raimi. But before that, we get the scene where the mother pleads to the daughter, and she's coming through the cellar, and it's a sort of throwback to the first movie when the first female deadite looks through the cellar. Cheryl? Is it Cheryl? I can't remember which one it is.
It's the sister, isn't it?
Aye. So and it's just that sort of, and she's pleading to the daughter, and then she's like, no, don't kill me, come and help me. And then obviously it turns back into Ted Raimi being all like, fucking sweat coming out of his eyeballs and fucking everything. But great end to a movie that just doesn't let up really from the first opening few minutes. Very frantic, amazing movie, and the end of it. Well, Danny, you can go ahead and talk about the end.
I just love it because he ends up they're reading the book. They feel that they're gonna bring an end to what the Deadites are up to, but they end up opening a vortex, which draws Ash in, and he ends up falling from the sky along with his car, and lands in a desert. And he's sort of looking around. It looks kind of, because you kind of imagine it's going to be like an apocalyptic wasteland.
Yeah, like Mad Max type thing.
Yeah, like a Mad Max type thing. And then next thing, these knights come riding up, and all these like people in like burlap sack outfits.
Ahoy there!
Yeah, and
horses and all.
What's going on? And then you get the pull out, and we see the kind of him silhouetted standing on top of the car, which is obviously a callback to the book from the Dead. We see
prophecy.
The prophecy. The prophet has arrived.
The prophet.
And then it ends. Which of course you're just
Yeah.
like, no, does he not? He shoots one of the like wee pterodactyl deadite things out of
Yeah.
the sky, and that's when everyone's like, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Posted."
you're the hero.
Yeah.
Because they all ride and they're like, who's this guy?
Mhm.
And not the best looking knight armor, to be honest. The
No.
helmets looked a bit dodgy, a bit tinfoily, but
Too small.
I would say this was probably quite late into filming, and this also might have been something that they kind of added in at the end whenever they were like, oh, we might be making a third one. Let's do that Middle Ages idea. So they filmed that pretty quickly, I would imagine, with not a lot of budget because
Pulled a Monty Python, the Holy Grail, ran out of budget.
I
so
know.
they just winged it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, Monty Python. This is
Mhm.
basically Monty Python. But yeah, we get that shot of him standing in the car, and then we see the fucking pterodactyl thing coming, and he blows it, and then they're all like, "Oh my god, you're the hero, you're the hero from the sky," and they actually say it. One of the guys says it, and then it pulls back, and you see the big castle from the flashback that the man was talking about, and then that's when it sort of hits like, fuck, this is actually pretty clever. This is actually a pretty clever story. It's not just about, possession and deadites and gore and, mad shit happening. It's actually a pretty cool, clever story. And, they could easily have just finished it without the portal and without sort of linking it up to the prophecy. But
they didn't have to add any additional lore, but they
No.
have. There's a whole lot of lore, and then obviously
yeah,
3 goes on to explain that, and then it goes even deeper with the TV series.
yeah.
And you get some of those fantastic comics and stuff. But I think the best thing about the comics is the crossovers that we ultimately get, like Freddy versus Jason versus Evil Dead,
Yeah.
and Marvel Zombies versus Evil Dead, and yeah.
Adam, have you read any of the crossover comics, or do you own them or anything?
I have had a few. I had a series called Hack and Slash,
Right.
and it kind of led into a crossover with the Reanimator,
Right. Oh, wow.
and
Cool.
it was quite good.
Nice.
But it was like the reanimation serum brought people back to life, and Herbert West was using the Book of the Dead as well.
Right. Cool.
It
That
was
sounds
quite good.
that sounds
sweet.
awesome.
Mhm.
No, I love all the crossovers. I think there's so much that could be done and that could still be done with those, and hopefully we'll get more and more of those in the future, either in comic form or, fingers crossed, live action cinema. It'd be cool to see.
More Bruce Campbell. Well, I mean, because was there not chat of another? Well, there is going to be another Evil Dead.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been officially announced. Evil Dead Rise, I want to say it's called. And it's Lee Cronin's directing it as well. So, but I don't think Ash is going to be in it, or if he is, it's going to just be a wee cameo. I think there's going to be a female lead who hasn't been announced yet, or maybe she hasn't been cast. I don't know, but certainly hasn't been announced yet. So I'm really eager to see who's going to be in this film and where it goes and how it connects to the original sort of trilogy. If it does connect to it, but I think they have said that it is going to have some sort of connection. It's not just going to be like a reboot or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it'll be exciting. I'm excited to see what they do with the franchise. It's definitely one of the most influential franchises in the horror genre. And, we spoke about Raimi being a very influential filmmaker. A lot of young filmmakers saw his films and went on to be filmmakers themselves. And one of the most iconic franchises out there, I think. Wouldn't be one of my favorite horror franchises. I'm a big Elm Street person, but I know, Danny, you love it, and it's definitely up there, and you can see the influence in a lot of horror films today. And talking about influences, Adam, you have been working on a short film, I hope you don't mind me mentioning it, called Trespassing.
Yeah.
How far along are you in filming? I know you've released a few pictures and stuff. How far are you getting on with that at the minute?
We haven't filmed too much because of COVID. We couldn't film outside because it's based in the woods. We couldn't film outside because you weren't allowed in more groups than 6 people.
Yeah, groups, yeah.
And then we were like, it's fine, we'll shoot inside a studio. And then that's when the second kind of lockdown started. It was like the studio is closed. So that's when we were like, well, all this stuff of all this practical makeup stuff that we've got, we'll just make very short films rather than this half-an-hour film that we were going to make.
Yeah, but you're still planning on making Trespassing. You're still planning it, sweet. Because I know you. I've been sort of following your progress, and it looks really, really awesome, and I'm looking forward to it because you were talking about that it's going to be about Irish lore and stuff like that, and
Yes, it's
gonna have-
about fairies and Cornunos and Morrigan and a Banshee. So
amazing.
there's a lot of stuff in it, and then it's mixed with a bit of humor. It's not as Evil Deadish as it would have liked, but I think now that we've made it's a blessing and a curse with COVID that now we've made shorts and we're planning on making like a short every 1 to 2 months. I think now we've kind of found our groove of what we like. So I think Trespassing going on might be a bit different from what we had planned originally.
Yeah, that's good. So the lockdown was bad for most people, but there were some good things to come out of it. For this show was one of the things that came out of it. We probably wouldn't have done this had we not had the lockdown and had time to work.
Yeah,
until
we
something
would
like
have
this.
been putting on screenings.
Yeah, we would have been just sticking to our screenings, which we can't wait to get back to
I
doing.
can't wait to put screenings on
I know.
again. Yeah.
But so what was the other short you mentioned? You did release a short a few weeks ago.
Black White.
Black White.
It's about sleep paralysis. And it was Gary Whelan who works with us. He is part of our production team, and he had this idea for years. And I was like, well, do you know whenever you have an idea for a long time, you're like, I really want to make this film, but you don't have the self push.
Oh man.
It was like, I have this idea for years, and I was like, well, let's just do it.
Yeah.
It'll take us no time to get stuff. We'll film it on our phones. Like nobody's going to care like really what it looks like because you're in quarantine. You can't rent all this special equipment. We've got all the stuff here, so just put it together in an afternoon and then put it out. And fortunately, it's won. I think it's like 6 or 7 awards now. Weirdly, like it's been a success for something we were like, we'll do this for an afternoon. But yeah, it's been fun.
No, that's good. That's good, man. That's good to hear. But yeah, me and Danny know all about fucking having these ideas and not actually getting the fucking finger out your arsehole to do them. But we'll get there, man. We promise we'll get there. What's your production company called again?
Mooncat Productions.
Mooncat. Do you have a social media account for them, or?
Yeah, it's at Mooncat Productions on Instagram. The best way to get us, or Adam Neeson on Instagram. Best way to get to me.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll leave it there, man. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate coming on, chatting about Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. By the way, where is it called Dead by Dawn? Because I never realised there was a subtitle to it until maybe 10 years ago. I tried renting it or watched it somewhere and I seen the subtitle and I was like, I don't remember there being a subtitle to this movie. Is it just in different regions or is it like, do we know?
I think it was the European.
Is it?
I think so. But anytime you buy it over here, it's just
Evil Dead 2. I've never heard anyone call it Dead by Dawn.
No.
And we'll not start now, so fuck it. It's just called Evil Dead 2. But anyway, man, cheers for coming on. Really appreciate it. You've been supporting us massively on Twitter, and we really appreciate it. You've been one of our biggest supporters since we started doing this. So much love to you, and good luck with your short films. You know that we'll be retweeting once we see you.
Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated.
No bother, man. Hopefully, our production company, Pancake Stack Productions, will work with your production company in the future.
I'll be the syrup on your pancakes.
Yes, definitely. Yes, no, we'll definitely, once the whole lockdown thing's fucked off and we're able to get out and do stuff, we'll hook up. But we'll definitely get you back on the show at some point during season 2 or 3. Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness. Maybe, or we'll see.
I have a fun fact about Army of Darkness. It was going to be called Medieval Dead.
Oh my god.
Very good.
Why didn't they call it Medieval Dead? That's amazing.
The medieval video game people were like, hey,
this is good something to do.
That's
this is good something to do. No, definitely, man. Brilliant. You're great with the fun facts here. I thought I was good with the fun facts, but that QVC one, that'll kill me. That QVC one will just kill me for the rest of my life. That's amazing.
That's great.
But anyway, cheers for coming on, man. Thanks for watching this week's episode of Monday Night Frights. We'll be back next Monday with another episode. And
do we know what it is?
Yes, Danny. We plan ahead. We always know what we're talking about. At no point do we ever just randomly choose a movie.
Never in doubt.
But no, in all seriousness, we do have a list and we do go through it every week and we decide what we're doing. And at some point during season 2, we will put a poll on our Twitter where we'll put 4 random movies and you can pick, and we'll get hopefully a wee bit more interaction with the people watching it. And it won't be something that's on our list. We'll pick 4 random movies on the list. And also, I forgot to mention last week, we'll be doing a massive giveaway at some point during season 2. And by massive giveaway, I mean 2 or 3 small items that we can afford to give away. But we'll give more information about that if and when it ever happens. So, but anyway, thanks for watching this week's episode of Monday Night Frights. Like, share, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Fright Club NI. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Cheers.
Bye.